Okay, so we have some updates on the Emmanuel Haro case. Now, if you are unaware of what I'm talking about, I'll link my prior videos on the subject down below. This is a case that has gone viral, or at least has gone viral on my little corner of the internet. The short version is that a baby, quote unquote, was kidnapped. Now, it's clear that the baby was not kidnapped. This was clear to most people from the get-go just because the story was not aligning. A lot of people immediately thought that the parents were guilty because they looked guilty as hell. As of today, there are a lot of updates. By the time I post, I'm sure there will be more, but I'm trying to give you the most up-to-date news in a bundled format. So we have news from yesterday, from this morning, from this afternoon, all put together. Anyway. So here is what has come out. Let's start with the fact that today Emmanuel Haro's parents were in court for the first time, okay? And that is extremely significant. There was a lot of footage of just a crazy amount of media outside of the courthouse. Parents of missing 7-month-old child appear in court, first time since arrest, charged with murder. So this is a big deal because, like I said, a lot of the internet investigators and just the public generally, honestly, knew that something was wrong. This is a confirmation that the parents, in fact, had something to do with the child's death, if not killing him directly, which obviously murder here, but I suppose we'll know more about that as time goes on, depending on what they admit to. And even then, whatever they admit to, a lot of people don't really believe, in the sense of, in our last update, Jake Haro, the father, was seen showing the police around some type of desert ground in the middle of nowhere. And so it would seem like he was trying to help the cops. What people are saying now is they think he's going to send them on some wild goose chase, showing them an area that has nothing to do with where the cadaver is, if that makes sense. So the interesting thing is it says that the parents appeared in court with public defenders representing the mother and father for less than 5 minutes on Tuesday, with a $1 million bail set for both. Arraignment will continue on September 4th. Interesting thing here is $1 million bail is a lot, and a lot of people are theorizing, obviously, that there's a reason for that, because these people are a flight risk potentially. I don't really see these people as the type to just go out and murder another baby, but I would say that these people look like the types that would try to run away, hide, much like they have now with any type of evidence, or helping the police, obviously, because they're guilty, in my opinion, and also apparently everyone else's. So that was one article, quick recap, right? Another article says, date baby Emmanuel Haro was likely killed, revealed in court docs. Now, this is another important thing about this entire case, is that people are convinced that the timeline is entirely off. Honestly, it makes sense that it is, because the child was supposedly kidnapped, right? But no footage corroborates that. But aside from that, the days where Emmanuel was last seen alive were significantly before the kidnapping. So people are wondering, when was the last time this baby was alive? Because if the baby was not kidnapped, if that didn't happen, then the timeline is completely off. So this baby could have died way earlier. So a lot of people are wondering, when was the last time we have confirmation that this baby was seen? And effectively, it seems like that was at the beginning of August, though I haven't seen any confirmed pinpoint date. New court documents have revealed that baby Emmanuel Haro could have been killed as early as August 5th, 9 days before his mother reported him missing. The information emerged as Emmanuel's parents, Rebecca and Jake Haro, were formally charged with 7-month-old Emmanuel's murder today. Riverside County prosecutors are asking that they be held in lieu of $1 million bail. So this is where I have a little bit of conflicting information. I think them being held is the last of it. This is the more updated article. So apparently there's no even opportunity for them to make the $1 million bail. That being said, I don't think it would have been likely that people would have paid for that. And honestly, if I were them, I'd probably want to actually stay in, because people are not supportive of these two at all. Like, I have not seen one singular video, clip, tweet, whatever, where anyone is defending these two. If anything, Rebecca Haro is a little bit more defended, because people are assuming that her husband, Jake Haro, was abusing her and that she was suffering abuse along potentially with the baby. While that is possible, I don't really think it's a good idea to let her off the hook immediately, because realistically we just have no idea how involved she was, if at all. Maybe it was just her, who knows. So the other thing that's interesting is that Emmanuel's parents have also been charged with making a false police report after his mother, Rebecca, reported him missing on August 14th. So that's an aspect of this I had completely glossed over and not thought about, the fact of making a false report, because it's been determined that obviously they were lying about the kidnapping, and therefore when they told the police that their child was kidnapped, obviously the murder is the biggest of our issues here. That being said, the fact that you're just also wasting police time by reporting this, your baby missing, and having them search all over the place with a level of urgency, because if the child is missing, therefore alive, that's a very different story than searching for a body. Not that one is more important than the other, but they're two different things. So you're not just lying and a murder, potentially, allegedly, but also you're just wasting people's time. So then it gives a little bit of a summary that she said that she was changing the diaper, then someone knocked her over the head, said, hola, whatever, moving on from that. In the court documents, it says, Jake Mitchell Haro and Rebecca Renee Haro committed a violation of Penal Code Section 187, Subdivision A felony, in that on or about August 5th, 2025, through and including August 14th, 2025, in the County of Riverside, State of California, the defendants did willfully and unlawfully murder baby doe, Emmanuel Haro, and the documents also laid out the second charge, which is the misdemeanor I mentioned prior. On or about August 14th, 2025, in the County of Riverside, State of California, the defendants did willfully and unlawfully report to a police officer, deputy sheriff, and member of the California Highway Patrol that a felony and misdemeanor has been committed, knowing that report to be false. So I think that most people following the case already assume that these two are liars, but there's something about having court documents say, hey, you lied to the cops, which puts it not only black on white, but also puts into perspective anything else they might say in the future now. It's like, you've already lied, so it was suspicious to begin with, even prior to hearing their lies, in my opinion. The whole kidnapping story I thought was strange, but after seeing the interviews after this now, I just don't know how they're going to be able to confess anything, if they want to confess anything, and be taken seriously. Because if I were a police officer, or whoever's interrogating them, I probably would not believe a single thing unless they actually showed me the thing they're saying, actual proof, which so far none of that has happened. Let us also recall a detail that I harped on a little bit in my prior video, which is the fact that there were no pictures of the baby or baby clothes in the home, which I think is the most glaring red flag. Truly, it sounds silly. That really is, I think, what also fucks with the timeline, right? Because it goes back to what I said. Why would you get rid of your child's clothes? A, if your child is still alive and quote unquote missing, and B, even if your child had passed away, I don't really think the first priority would be to remove any sign they were ever there, right? That's just me. Anyway, there were a couple of TikToks on all of this,
So as of 5 minutes ago, we know that Jake and Rebecca Haro are being charged with murder. I already told you about that, but yes, they are both being charged with murder, and the prosecutors have confirmed this to Eyewitness News literally 5 minutes ago. They just put a report out, and I'm reading it in front of me. So they are expected to be arraigned in court later on this afternoon, and they are also looking at being charged with making a false police report as well, and they are being held without bail, per the sheriff's office. Okay, so with that being said, those are the only new updates right now. We're still waiting for them to make their appearance in court for this arraignment later on this afternoon. When they do, and when that information comes out on what happens in court, I will let you know. But in the meantime, I see a lot of people who think these two are about to just walk free, no body, no case, no nothing. It's not going to go like that. I mean, I'm not saying things can't go crazy, but they already have them on that 187 murder charge, right? So if you don't understand what that is, listen, in order for them to get the warrants to arrest them with that charge, they have more information and evidence than we know about. They just haven't released it all, and that is okay. When they do release it, and when we have factual information, I will give it to you. In the meantime, let's wait to see what happens during this arraignment hearing, and I will get back to you later on today, and I'll give you more information. I'll give you another update, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
If you're following the case of Emmanuel Haro, did you hear that his parents tried to buy a hacksaw there are some huge updates in this case. So Ahmed Bayos from On the Tira spoke with employees from the Do It Best Home Center in Beaumont, and they said that Jake and Rebecca came into the store trying to buy a hacksaw. And they said this happened days before Emmanuel Haro was even reported missing. Why they needed it and what they were doing at that time remains a mystery. The other thing that just came out is that multiple surveillance videos from nearby stores have been turned over to the police, and allegedly the footage on them doesn't match up with Rebecca's story at all. It apparently only shows Rebecca alone, falling, and then running into the Big Five store asking where her baby is. And according to Action Eye News, police have obtained what they believe to be Emmanuel Haro's baby clothes in a dumpster. They have taken the clothes in for testing and confirmation, but what we do know is that this dumpster was located right next to the grandmother's home. Jake and Rebecca were also seen at juvenile court yesterday, and her black eye seems a lot darker. This man is allegedly a CPS worker. Others think it could be her attorney, and we're not 100% sure why she's there, but it possibly has something to do with the other child that was removed from her home. And lastly, the police gave an update saying they're aware of the fire that broke out near the Haro home, and they're currently investigating it. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Prayers to baby Emmanuel, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
So another aspect of this case that we're not really super focusing on, but that I thought I'd bring up relative to what you just saw, was the fact of the hacksaw, because now people are thinking that this baby was dismembered if the hacksaw was actually purchased, which I don't know if there's a receipt of purchase or if they were just seen going into a store and asked for it. I don't know what the details are around that. But there are a lot of people who are theorizing that the hacksaw was bought in order to dismember the baby and then hide the remains in the middle of bumfuck nowhere in the literal desert, and then to say that animals ate the remains, whatever the case may be, the weather, wear and tear, that something occurred to the body to make that there is no body, which would be very convenient also as a bullshit excuse to say, oh, actually, we dismembered the body, dropped it in all these places in the desert where realistically it would probably be consumed by birds, coyotes, whatever the case may be, and the body's actually completely elsewhere. If we're going to go with these two are liars, which I think is the case, then that actually is not a crazy theory. That being said, as important as it is to recuperate the body, it's also the question of understanding what it is that they actually did, because that will help you find the body, right? So if it's determined that it's a murder, then you can start looking at, okay, how would murderers hide the body, obviously, as opposed to where do we look for a kidnapped child? Those are two completely different scenarios, right? So hopefully whatever information they end up getting, whatever footage they may end up finding, it actually leads to something. Because like I said in my prior video, this family is just surrounded and shrouded with so much death, and it's not the unfortunate tragedies where you actually feel bad for them. I'm not saying I don't feel bad for the deaths, mind you. But them as these two, Jake Haro and Rebecca Haro, you don't feel bad for them, not only because they're murderers in my opinion, but also because it seems like a lot of this stuff is stuff they willed or made happen or were contributing factors to. So when I said earlier that people really are in no way on the quote-unquote side of the parents, as in nobody is really giving them any benefit of the doubt, well, when I say that, I'm being extremely serious, and here I'm going to show you a TikTok of a woman basically discussing her experience in prison and what's going to happen if Rebecca Haro happens to go to that same prison. So here it is, then we'll talk about it.
Let me just tell you guys something about prison, because mind you, that's where baby Emmanuel's mama is about to go. I've been in Chowchilla in California. I was on D Yard, Delta Yard, the highest level in the highest, worst prison for women, right? Do you know, how could I word this without, do you know what they do to women who hurt babies? So in Chowchilla, don't mind me, I'm on my iPad, so I gotta look weird. But in Chowchilla, you got a bunch of lockers. Everybody has a locker to store their stuff, right? And there's a lock. The metal locks that you guys used to get back in the day that has the little codes. Yeah. Number one first day, I can't even think of a way to filter it, to say it, to put it on here. But baby, you are gonna be in for it. you're gonna hit A yard, receiving yard, and that's where all the main degenerates are that don't give a fuck. Okay, you're already gonna land there. And even if you go PC, baby, they're not gonna PC you. You're not PC'd like you think. Okay, very easy to get. People could get what they want. Okay. Mind you, Chowchilla is inmate ran. It is not ran by correctional officers. Yes, like they do that, but guess what? We do the paperwork. We do everything, right? Us, the inmates. Not me no more because I'm not there. But, baby, listen. You would want to call PC for yourself in county and in prison, because I'm going to tell you right now, they don't care about snitches. They don't care about gang-related things like that. They don't, none of that. Baby cases? Oh. I pray for your soul to find a safe place. I pray that if you don't end it before somebody else does, that you find yourself a very peaceful place in your mind, because you ain't gonna be allowed out. You ain't gonna be welcome in nobody's room. Because mind you, it's like a home. You gotta ask to move into somebody's room, and if they ain't cool with you, then you gonna get all this stuff, right? Okay, baby, listen, you're in for it. You're in for it, babe. Justice for baby Emmanuel, dead ass, because she's not gonna be in a very fun place at all. Promise you that.
So granted, this is merely one example of how people feel about all of this, but I do think it's important to note that if people are not only going out of their way to film updates about this, which granted, a lot of people who discuss crime will do that, but if the quote-unquote general public of TikTok, people that aren't super invested in crime specifically, are going out of their way to discuss this, going like this woman does to share their experience in prison, to basically say, hey, this is going to be really fucking bad for you and you basically deserve to be there, you understand that this case is not just about the virality of people discussing it, but how many people are up in arms, which is not strange with infanticide, because people have strong feelings about, because it involves the innocence of children, right? Anyway, this I thought was an important example to show how people online actually feel about this, and why I was saying earlier that if I were either of the Haros, I don't know if I'd want to be outside. Granted, inside is not going to be great by any means, but I don't know how much better outside is. So here's another update in terms of the records and what they're showing, as in what they might be telling us about what occurred in court, and also what it tells us obviously about the innocence / guilt of both of the parents. So listen to this.
Okay, so I'm about to go on stage for tonight's show, and I'm looking at the booking information for Jake and Rebecca after today's arraignment hearing, where we know that they were charged with murder officially and also charged with false reporting. But why are Jake's charges different than Rebecca's? Not only does he have more charges from some other stuff that rolls into it, but I want you to look at this, and maybe I'm overthinking this, so feel free to troll me and correct me in the comments, but he still has the murder with malice charge, also the willful harm, the false reporting, possessing a firearm, all of that. But look at Rebecca's. Rebecca has first-degree murder. Now, murder with malice, I explained this on my last video, that can be for first or second-degree murder. It just means it's not manslaughter, that there is, that murder took place whether it was premeditated and intentional with malice and express malice, or implied, meaning that your actions were, the death was the result of your actions, and that was a likely scenario. But first degree means intentional. First degree means premeditated. So she has this charge, Jake doesn't. Does that mean that Rebecca is the one that did this? Does it mean that he is cooperating, so they're giving him a lesser charge? Or has the booking not updated? I don't know, but this is standing out to me a lot, that she has first degree, and let me show you his again. It's nowhere to be seen on his. What does that mean? Let me know what you think.
Anyway, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.